to pull sanctions on Syria while extending an olive branch to Iran. Tyrone Bowman live. Let's talk about it right now. And according to an article in the Washington Post, President Donald Trump announced plans Tuesday to lift sanctions against the Syrian government and expressed in his strongest terms yet a willingness to negotiate with Iran, signaling a reordering of U.S. foreign policy in which there are no, quote, permanent enemies, end quote. Trump's speech, which kicked off the first major foreign trip of his second term, offered a sweeping but at times contradictory vision of the role of U.S. military force in the world. He declared his opposition to past U.S. interventions in the Middle East, but also a willingness to use force to defend the United States and its allies. Quote, in fact, some of the closest friends of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, the president said, and now they're our friends and allies, end quote. Trump made the announcements as he sought to pump money from his oil-rich region into the American economy, spending a day on pomp and ceremony as he signaled a sheaf of investment agreements. From the moment he got off Air Force One, pumping his fist and warmly greeting Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, he seemed focused on securing a range of new deals for the technology titans and business executives he brought with him. But in a speech with elements of a campaign rally, one that began with an audience of Saudi leaders and investors standing and taking photos of Trump as he swayed to Lee Greenwood's, quote, God bless the USA, end quote, and concluded with YMCA, he addressed the host of security challenges plaguing the Middle East, as well as renewed willingness for the United States to have a role in addressing them. He said that he would never allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon, but he said he was ready for a deal and pushed Tehran to take the olive branch he was offering. He also announced he would remove sanctions on Syria, delivering a significant boost to the country's new government that he said was requested by the Saudi crown prince. Quote, oh, what I do for the crown prince, end quote, Trump said. The sanctions date to the long, brutal reign of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, who was ousted in December and were intended to inflict major pain on his economy. They were left in place because of uncertainty about the intentions of Syria's new leaders, who renounced a past affiliation with al-Qaeda. But critics inside and outside the United States said that leaving the sanctions in place too long risked alienating a new leadership that might be open to cooperation with Washington and could increase Syria's dependence on other backers, including Turkey. Trump plans to say hello to Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharia on Wednesday, a White House official said. Trump also said that the modern Middle East was created by the people of the region themselves, suggesting that he will pursue a far more restrained approach than his predecessors, including Joe Biden, who repeatedly slammed the Saudi crown prince for his human rights accord. Quote, it's really incredible what you've done, Trump told the crowd that included Saudi and U.S. leaders. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the intervenists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves, end quote. Trump has often expressed skepticism about alliances, saying that too many U.S. allies take advantage of Washington's military umbrella while doing little in exchange. But on Tuesday, even as he said that Middle East nations have done best when they have stood on their own, he vowed, quote, I will never hesitate to wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States or to help defend our allies, and there will be no mercy for any foe who tries to do us or them harm, end quote. Throughout the day, Trump frequently lavished praise on the crown prince, praising him from the stage. He's an incredible man, Trump said of Mohammed, known him a long time. There's nobody like him. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, my friend, quote, close quote. It was a remarkable show of unity, and it had a far different tenor from the visit that Biden made as president nearly 3 years earlier. Biden once vowed to make the kingdom a power for its human rights abuse, and on his visit, he confronted Mohammed about the 2018 murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, telling him in a straightforward and direct way that the killing was unacceptable. The Saudi crown prince did not greet Biden at the airport during their visit, instead meeting him at the royal palace where the two exchanged a fist bump. It has been 8 years since Trump first visited the kingdom as president, and in that time, his personal relationship with the Saudi crown prince has withstood significant trials. It was during Trump's first term that U.S. intelligence agencies determined that Mohammed was complicit in the killing of Khashoggi, a Washington Post contributing columnist. While the kingdom was shunned by the international community and business leaders for a time following Khashoggi's killing, the investors and brands are now back. The same investment forum that Trump addressed in Ridija was also attended by CEOs from Uber, Amazon, BlackRock, and SpaceX, meaning Elon Musk was there, probably Bezos was there, and all the other billionaires were there. We affirm this important bond, and we take the next steps to make our relationship closer and stronger. Trump told the forum he planned that the alliance would endure. It is more powerful than ever before. And by the way, it will remain that way. We don't go in and out like other people, he said to roars of applause. As Trump arrived here for the first extended foreign trip of the second term, the start of his 4-day tour of 3 Middle Eastern countries was filled with the kind of lavish display he craves. Ahead of Trump's landing in Ridija on Tuesday morning, workers scurried to ready a lavender-colored carpet that lined the steps and guided the pathway to an opulent room near the tarmac. In the morning, Air Force One was escorted by 6 Saudi F-15s flying in close proximity to the presidential aircraft as it made its final approach. In the afternoon, the presidential car, nicknamed the Beast, was escorted by a pack of Arabian horses, walking in formation around the armored limousine as a band and honor guard awaited. As he arrived at the royal court, Trump and the crown prince walked down a purple carpet before arriving in a massive gilded hall where top U.S. and Saudi officials were sitting in a ring around the edge. Trump and his Saudi counterpart settled in large upholstered purple chairs at the head of the room. The encounter also featured a parade of the richest. This is coming from the slanted Washington Post. The most prominent American Saudi businesses and tech titans all walking through marble hallways. What does all this have to do with peace? There was an extended conversation with Elon Musk, who was eschewed his often casual dress of T-shirts and hats and instead wore a suit and tie. Trump spent time introducing Susie Wiles as chief of staff to the Saudi leader. OpenAI co-founder Sam Altman gestured with his hands in animated discussion. One person brought several printouts to deliver a brief presentation to the two leaders. Patrick Soon-Shiong, the owner of the Los Angeles Times and a billionaire, medical researcher and investor, held forth in a warm conversation. Some 250 people were on the guest list, showcasing the priority that Trump has placed on securing business deals and more cooperation between U.S. and Saudi leaders. It included Stephen A. Schwarzman, the CEO of the Blackstone Group, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon. There were high-ranking officials of Citigroup, Google, Northrop Grumman, Uber, Coca-Cola, and Bowman. As you know, we have the biggest business leaders in the world here, Trump said during an afternoon meeting with the Saudi crown prince, who was at his side throughout the day. They're going to walk away with a lot of checks for a lot of things that you're going to provide, quote, close quote. He suggested that some 2 million jobs will be created by his 24-hour visit to Saudi Arabia. Trump claimed to have attained $600 billion in investment commitments, although details were vague. Some investments had already been announced, and the public tally didn't add up to $600 billion, much less than the $1 trillion. The president had previously hoped to secure from the Saudis. Part of the commitments came in the form of $142 billion arms deal that will provide Saudi Arabia with military equipment from more than a dozen U.S. defense firms, according to a White House summary. It also includes enhanced training to build the capacity of the Saudi armed forces, which could further align the United States with a key ally in a volatile region. The announcement marks an extension of robust military sales to Saudi Arabia, stretching back through numerous presidential administrations between 2010 and 2020. Washington proposed foreign military sales of more than $100 billion, according to a 2023 report from the Independent Congressional Research Service. On his first stop of his trip. There was no visible presence of any Trump's family members who have spent the past several weeks drumming up businesses in the Middle East for the Trump Organization in ways that presidential historians and government watchdogs say marks a new test for White House ethics. Trump is scheduled to participate in a meeting of the Gulf Cooperation Council here on Wednesday morning before departing for Qatar in the afternoon. The trip comes as the president faces scrutiny concerns from current and former U.S. military, defense, and Secret Service officials over a luxury jet the Qatari government is promising as a gift to the United States for Trump's use. He is currently scheduled to conclude his trip on Friday with a visit to the United Arab Emirates. While he had previously held out the possibility that he could travel to Turkey should talks emerge between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He said on Tuesday here that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be attending talks later this week in Turkey. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Keith Kellogg are also planning to attend, according to a White House official. There you have it. Never surrender, never quit.